watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Well, the fun is over, and now it's back to business, I guess. Before I go on talking about this great fight that took place this weekend, I want to give shouts out to Top Rank and the MGM Grand for giving me accommodations to cover all of the events that took place this entire week, all of the press conferences, the roundtables, and of course the live event. Now let's get into the business at hand. Pacquiao versus Bradley 2, the aftermath. First thing I want to say about this fight is when I watched this, man, I thought I was watching a remake of the movie Trading Places. If you guys remember that movie with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, that's what I thought I was watching when I was looking at this fight. The reason why I say that is because the first thing that jumped out at me is in the first fight, Manny Pacquiao was considered the aggressor. He was considered the power puncher. And Tim Bradley, he was looked at as the reluctant fighter that just wanted to run, like Manny Pacquiao and his friends call it, right? He was the one that was backing up. He was the one that wanted to box. This is at least how people perceived the first fight. But an interesting thing happened in this fight that just took place. The roles were reversed, where Manny Pacquiao, he was the boxer in this fight. Manny Pacquiao was the boxer. Don't get it twisted, guys. And I want to go ahead and I want to say congratulations to Manny Pacquiao for being able to put on a great boxing exhibition, because that's exactly what he did. He didn't fall for the okie doke. He didn't fall for, being reckless and just running into a punch that would have caught him and possibly knocked him out. And speaking of knockouts, once again, the roles were reversed, and it looked like Tim Bradley, he was the aggressor in this fight, for at least for the most part of the fight. He was the guy that was trying to get the knockout. Congratulations to Tim Bradley for being the aggressor against a guy who is supposed to have much more power than Tim Bradley has. If you guys watched the interview I did with Manny Pacquiao, I asked him where did he rate Tim Bradley on a scale from 1 to 10 when it comes to power, 10 being the hardest, and Manny Pacquiao, he gave Tim Bradley a respectable 6. Now, and I wasn't in the ring with Tim Bradley, but I'm assuming after watching this fight that Manny Pacquiao probably wants to revise the number that he gave Tim Bradley when it comes to the power scale. Because if you guys remember in this fight, Tim Bradley, actually really hurt Manny Pacquiao. And the words of Freddie Roach at the post-fight conference, he said, oh yeah, Manny Pacquiao was hurt. He was really hurt in that 4th round. I believe it was the 4th round with the overhand right that Tim Bradley hurt Manny Pacquiao with. So we know that Tim Bradley, he has power or he increased his power, either one. But nevertheless, back to the point I was making, Tim Bradley was the aggressor. Okay, I only watched this fight one time and I watched it live. I got to really watch this fight a good probably 2 more times to get a really, really good assessment of the fight. But from what I've seen, the fight was very close. It wasn't 118, 110 like one judge had it. But, that was expected. We knew there was going to be some shit like that going down for a fight like this. But nevertheless, there was no controversy when it comes to whose hand was raised. This is a huge win for Manny Pacquiao's career. Matter of fact, I would say this is the biggest win that he's had probably in the last 8 years. You would have to go all the way back to 2006 to when he got a TKO win over Eric Morales. After he had lost to Eric Morales, came back and beat him to get this type of victory. What I mean by that is this is the first time in 8 years that Manny Pacquiao was fighting a guy that was still in his prime, on his level, coming off of a good win, right? I mean, if you look at the majority of Manny Pacquiao's wins, at least the bigger ones, Miguel Cotto, Margarito, Joshua Clottey, Brandon Rios, etc., the majority of those fights, those opponents were coming off of either vicious knockout losses or they were coming off of a fresh loss, okay? So this is the first time he was able to beat a young, hungry lion and an undefeated lion at that, okay? A pound-for-pound fighter. So this is a huge win for Manny Pacquiao. This puts him right back in that probably top 3, top 4 pound for pound status, and now we'll see what's next for him. But before I close out, of course, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit more about what took place in the actual fight. I thought it was really interesting because Tim Bradley, for whatever reason, he looked like he was staggering all around the ring the entire night. I mean, it wasn't just certain rounds, like maybe he got hurt and he was, just staggering. No, he was staggering around the ring. I would probably say, like I said, I just watched the fight once, but I'm about to go watch it a couple more times after I do this video, when I get some time, of course. But I noticed that it was probably after around the third round, maybe, that Tim Bradley was constantly staggering. He looked like he was drunk almost the whole night. But even while looking drunk, I mean, you could damn near call it the drunken monkey style, right? Because even while he was drunk, he was still effective, winning a lot of rounds in the fight. He was catching Manny Pacquiao with power shots. And once again, I want to reiterate this because it almost looked like if you didn't know who either one of these fighters were, you would have probably thought that Bradley was the power puncher and Manny Pacquiao was just a boxer. That's how you would have perceived it if you never knew who either one of these fighters were. But nevertheless, Tim Bradley, his balance was terrible. His balance was terrible. I expected Tim Bradley to possibly edge this fight out. And the reason why is I thought that Tim Bradley would continue where he left off from the first fight, which were those last 3 rounds. What's so crazy is even when Tim Bradley didn't have feet underneath him in the first fight, he actually did a better job of outboxing Manny Pacquiao than he did in this fight. I think that Tim Bradley, he got caught with more left hands in this fight than he did in the first fight. Even though he still showed great head movement, he got caught with a lot of left hands, I thought. And once again, I just watched the fight one time, so I got to go back and watch it. But that's what it looks like watching it just the first time and watching it live, of course. But on the other hand, Manny Pacquiao, once again, I thought he did a pretty good job of boxing. I mean, he's not Floyd Mayweather in the ring or Andre Ward or Guillermo Rigo, of course, but he handled his business. He did a good job of boxing. An interesting thing that he was doing is something almost similar to what a Marquez would do, which is take a little jump step back. Something that Tim Bradley was doing a little bit in the first fight. He wasn't doing it too much in this fight. Okay, I know a lot of people will argue, well, that's because Tim Bradley just wanted the knockout. Tim Bradley did want the knockout, but something was wrong with his legs or his balance. I already know he said that he sprained his calf, and I know there's going to be a lot of people pissed off that he would say something like this. But hey, if the man says he sprained his calf, only he knows if he sprained his damn calf. Of course, he was limping into the, post-fight conference, and, it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, a loss is a loss, and a win is a win. You can't discredit Manny Pacquiao because Tim Bradley sustained another injury. Well, Pacquiao fans, this is probably the time where you might want to stop the video because I've given you guys all of the good news when it comes to Pacquiao. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of the bad news when it comes to Manny Pacquiao and his performance. In the many videos that I've done chronicling the buildup of this fight, on one of those videos I did, I guess it was called the many ways that Manny Pacquiao can win this fight, I did talk about PEDs, right? Now, I want you guys to understand something. Let me go even further back to another video that I did. I did a video a while back. Basically, I forgot the name of the video, but in that video, I was basically exposing the double standards of how Floyd Mayweather was treated when he wanted to do Olympic-style drug testing, as opposed to Nonito Donaire deciding that he wants to do year-round drug testing. Now, we already know, common sense, that it's Floyd Mayweather that pioneered Olympic-style drug testing. He's the one that gets all of the credit. But what fans were saying to me, at least sending messages on my video, is they were saying, well, no, Donaire, he's the one that should get all of the credit, which, of course, biased-ass Jim Lampley is the one that kind of stirred that up as well, him and other biased people, basically saying that, Donaire is doing it year-round. Floyd Mayweather, he's only doing it from fight to fight. He can still do other, he could cheat some kind of way in between fights. Oh yeah, like that makes sense. Like someone wants to be doped up when they're not fighting, right? Just so they could be as clean as a whistle once they start training. That doesn't make sense. But this is, the type of messages that I was receiving. They were basically once again suggesting that Donaire should get all of the credit for pioneering Olympic-style drug testing, okay? And Mayweather, he shouldn't get the credit. Now, if that's the case, once again, you guys expose yourself and leave yourself wide open, because that basically means that you would have to give Mayweather all of the credit as opposed to Manny Pacquiao, right? Because now you're saying that Donaire gets all the credit because he took even more strenuous tests. So that means that Floyd Mayweather was taking way more strenuous tests than Manny Pacquiao. You see how it works, guys? Manny Pacquiao has been under a cloud of suspicion for at least the last 4 years when it comes to doping in the sport of boxing. All right? Now, to Manny Pacquiao's defense, and I don't know how valid this is, but at the post-fight conference, Bob Arum, he did say that there would be a delay for Manny Pacquiao and Tim Bradley to, to come to the conference because they are being tested through WADA, right? But yet at the same time, we never seen any footage of Manny Pacquiao or Tim Bradley, being tested. We didn't see any footage or any, pictures of Manny Pacquiao being tested when he fought against Brandon Rios. All right? So the whole thing is the cloud of suspicion, it still looms around Manny Pacquiao. And how do you remove that cloud of suspicion? Easy. You simply go out and you take the same type of test that you guys praised Nonito Donaire for, right? You take that test and you do it year-round just like Nonito Donaire did. See, you can't give credit or all the credit to what Donaire did, right? But at the same time, try to defend Manny Pacquiao for what he's not doing, right? You cannot do it. And this is the reason why when you are emotionally attached and you're just talking fan talk, you leave yourself exposed because you're not being truthful. You're not speaking the whole truth. You're basically just trying to find ways to defend this guy, defend that guy, hate on this guy, right? It's just like a person, they always say, once you tell one lie, then you got to tell a whole bunch of other lies just to cover up that lie, right? This is exactly the situation when it comes to fan talk and trying to defend certain fighters. They're not speaking with their heart, or I should say they're not speaking the truth. They are speaking with emotion and fan talk, basically. These fans have been exposed. So if you really, really think about it, guys, deep down, if these fans believe that Nonito Donaire is doing the right thing, then that means the truth is they believe that Manny Pacquiao is not doing the right thing. And it looks as if Manny Pacquiao has something to hide because all he had to do was take this test. You guys already heard what everyone was saying. I mean, just think about this for a second. As a boxing fan, how many times have you ever conversated with one of your friends about a big fight that was coming up and you guys are trying to figure out who's going to win and your friend says, well, if so-and-so is not doping and not juicing, then I think he's going to lose. But if he is juicing, I pick him to win the fight, right? You don't hear something like that too often, right? But you get conversations like this when you're talking about Manny Pacquiao. What does that mean? Do you know if you even Google Manny Pacquiao's name, PEDs will come up next to it. The point is, this was a terrific performance for Manny Pacquiao, but there is still a cloud of suspicion looming above Manny Pacquiao's head. He could have removed that, but he decided not to. So, the suspicion will still remain until he does the right thing. I mean, who would have ever thought that 4 years later, from the first time Manny and Floyd negotiated, Manny would still not be taking Olympic-style drug testing consistently. VADA, USADA. Not this Nevada Athletic Commission stuff. That's not a real test. And Bob claims that they were working with WADA, but WADA, they denied that they were even working in this fight. We want to see him be tested by the organizations that has caught everyone. And I know that's not what you Pacquiao fans want to hear, but you would have to admit that things definitely look suspicious. I'm on to the next one, guys.